How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport, and this will be our first video following up on the 1983 Mercedes 300 SD turbo diesel. So we picked up this car right around a month ago now, and it kind of set off to the side, and then we had Thanksgiving, which for me was freaking awesome. I hope you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving as well, and a lot of relaxation for me. So it is time to start jumping back into some of the projects, and this is the first one I need to jump into, because this was really purchased to flip. I wanted to see this car go into some good hands, somebody who really appreciated this car, but I wanted to get a jump start on some of the things that need to be done. So we are going to start today by changing out the fluids. At least the oil is going to get done immediately. I'm going to look at the coolant, probably try to change that out. And then we have to figure out why the transmission wasn't shifting properly on full acceleration. And I think it's going to be probably a vacuum line or something simple that we just need to take a look at. Outside that, what I really want to do is see if we can get the interior taken out on this episode, really cleaned up, and then we'll start tackling the exterior of this car. So let's start diving in, see where we can get. Now, I know the exterior of this car, the paint is kind of faded, but I really think we can still get it to come out and shine and look really good, kind of have that patina look to it. Also, I need to get some better tires on here because these back ones are completely shot, and I think I have a few sets of rims sitting around here, as you guys can see. In my room back there. Between everything that I have, we can probably get some good tires and rims on here just to have it roll around so we can test drive it. So let's get set up. Let's start with that oil and move on from there and just see where we can get on this video. All right, guys, so according to the internet, it takes about 7.9 quarts of oil on a standard oil change. So I got myself a 2.5 gallon jug of Rotella. It's just a standard Rotella because I want to run this through it, probably drain it out in a short amount of time, and put some better oil in there if I need to. And I also got a CarQuest premium oil filter because it was available at the auto parts store. Now, our good news is we are at level with our oil, so we can use this as a guide, even though we know it should be about 7.9 quarts or 8 quarts of oil to go in there. But I can drain this out, see where it falls in the jug when I pour it over, and then just kind of fill it from there. So I'm gonna kind of zoom all through all that. I'll just go ahead, get this drained out, get it filled, and we'll start cleaning up this engine bay. I think I'm gonna try to drain out this coolant here, so I gotta go down and get some fresh coolant for this car, and we'll check our air filter and all that stuff along the way. So let's get going. Well, it's actually fairly clean under here, minus a little bit of oil that's leaking down right there. But everything else looks real good. No heavy rust, obviously, Florida car. But the chassis looks absolutely amazing, and it looks pretty dry in most areas here. Nothing crazy leaking down. So let's get this oil out of here, some new oil put in, and see if we can clean down a lot of this engine. All right, guys, we got the old filter out. The new filter matches up perfectly and comes with a little bag. It's got the rubber gasket that goes around the upper edge of our filter housing, as well as 2 crush washers, which I'm thinking goes on the top because the 2 nuts that go on there, they did not have crush washers on it, but we'll go ahead and use those. Also wanted to point this out. I decided to take the wire wheel and polish it up a little bit. I know it's not a high gloss, but I didn't want to spend an insane amount of time trying to polish every little piece on this engine. And let me show you guys here. As you can see, it is pretty bad. So I want to be able to get to some of these parts with my little wire brushes and not make it perfect, but kind of have this rustic look. If you look at that, I kind of like that. It has a little bit of black pitting to it almost. It almost looks like it was like rubbed with like an oil or something. And you can see here I started to polish out the emblem there. So I'm gonna have to take a lot of pieces off of this valve cover here to polish that out. You can see we have some sort of oil leak right there, so I'm gonna investigate that. But for now, let's go ahead and clean out that housing and get this back in there, and we'll start cleaning up this engine. It is very rusty. I flushed this whole thing out with some water till it became clear. And I think this thing's gonna need to be flushed a few times. Look at all that sludge coming out of there. Well guys, now that the engine's all cleaned up, let's move on to my favorite part, which is interior cleaning. And this thing is gonna look really good when we're done because the interior overall is in pretty darn good shape, minus just being very dirty and pretty smelly from the years of just sitting. So you'll look down here and see how dirty these carpets are, but I think we can get these looking really, really nice. The seats and the door panels, everything's in real good shape. I want to go ahead and pull these seats out. That's the main thing, and deep clean these carpets and just get into all the crevices. And these seats, on a separate video, I want to see what we can do about replacing the stuffing. So that horsehair stuffing that's in here has disintegrated, and I want to find an alternative to fixing that. So hopefully I can come up with something on a video, probably the next video, of replacing that part of it so we can get these seats to be nice and firm again. But it feels like the springs and everything are all intact, so I think all we got to do is come up with an alternative solution to the stuffing, something a lot less expensive and something we can do locally. So I will fill you guys in on that in a future video. Other than that, we might want to replace some of these panels that are, all these pieces I think are in the trunk. So everything that's been taken off can be put back on. And the only other thing is the cracks in the dash. Hopefully we can come up with something for that. That might be another future video, but we're gonna get this interior looking good right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the car forward so we can start pulling everything out of it. And we're just gonna go at it and make this thing look good. So let's get on it. Well, guys, we definitely got our work cut out for us. This is disgusting. Now, if you look, this is an olive green, and somebody pointed this out in the video. Such a unique color combination. He said he had the exact color combination and never seen it before outside of his car. And it's like that deep brown seat, your olive green carpets, and a gold car. What a weird color combination, and I freaking love it. I cannot wait to see if these carpets come out and look really, really nice, because it almost looks brown back here. There's so much staining going on, and I hope it all comes out. All of this horsehair material here from the seats. This thing just needs some love and some cleaning. I can't wait to do it. Oh, and one more thing, these rods here. I don't know if you saw this, but you have to pull the seat all the way forward because those rods slide through your seatbelt here. And the only thing I can think of is a protection for if the seat goes back in an accident, it keeps it in place, because you got to pull it all the way forward to slide them off of that rail. And I didn't realize that at first, so kind of a strange one. And I know you guys out there probably know about this if you have this car, but I've never seen that before. It's not on the W140. I don't think I ever took the seats out of my W126 420, but I didn't notice that. So I wonder if it's just on these diesels or on the earlier cars. But let me know in the comments. Without further ado, let's get this thing clean. Let's see what we can do, guys. I'm excited. Let's get going. Well, guys, kind of throwing a curveball at this video because I had no plans of dyeing this carpet. In fact, I even mentioned it many times. I absolutely love that olive green, but after deep cleaning these carpets, that stain, which you see right there, that is a stain, would not come out. And I figured, why not try to cover that up with a dark brown dye? I've never dyed carpet. I had no idea how to do it. Watched a few videos and everybody did it differently, and there's quite a few different types of dyes, and there's commercial dyes, but I found a lady who dyed her entire carpet using this right here. Actually, she used the synthetic one, but I thought, this being an older Benz, there's a probably a good chance, being an expensive car, that they used a real material back then. I could not figure it out, but this is cotton wool and nylon, and more. So I figured it might work, and look how beautiful that came out. Now, I used her kind of solution. So it was warm water, vinegar, and the dye. What I ended up doing was doing this cocoa brown, because they were out of the dark brown, mixed with about half a bottle of this black to kind of darken up this brown, because I saw how light her carpet did come out, and she had almost tannish, blondish carpet, so it did not get a whole lot darker. It was actually closer to that bottle color, a little lighter, and I wanted it to be what you see here. So I used like about 3/4 to a cup of vinegar, about probably 3 cups of hot water in the mixture, and like I said, 1 full bottle of the brown and half of that. And then I tried putting it in this sprayer, but it was just spraying on too heavy, and I almost ran through it all just on that first section. And then I moved it over to a standard sprayer, which I saw somebody else use in a car, and that seemed to work really good. So I was able to spread that all out, and this part was super saturated, so I was able to use my glove and kind of push some of the solution down. Now, I'm not going to show you guys in detail all of this, but I wanted to fill you in. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not a professional dyer. I just figured I would take a shot at it. I probably could have done a separate video on this because it did come out really good, but I am excited to see how the rest of the car comes out. Let me show you real quick what the car looks like now, and I'm about to vacuum and clean the carpet. I'm going to use a degreaser and dry the carpet down. I'm not even going to pull it from the car, I don't think, because I don't want to put any more work on me, since I kind of now included a lot more stuff that I wasn't planning on doing. But I'm just going to clean all this carpet down. I will remove whatever is easy to remove, like this panel and that panel over there might be easier to remove, but I don't want to have to take this center console out if I don't have to. But we will dye that centerpiece there. So this is kind of how nasty this looks now, and I'm just going to zoom through dyeing the rest of this carpet, and then I have some ideas with the seats. Something I could not find online, what people did with these seats. Everybody goes and replaces the horsehair. A lot of people will buy a passenger seat because they don't get sat in as much, and just swap that in. And if you look here, the passenger side is not too bad. It's missing a lot of that horsehair filler, but the springs are in great shape, like I thought, and we have full access now that these are out and laying down. So I figured, why not try to get some foam? I got these thinner pieces because they had some thick piece foams. Super cheap, guys. I spent less than 30 bucks on all this at Joann Fabrics today, and I'm going to be able to jam this foam down in there without even taking anything off the seats. See if we can get it to be a little more firm. I know this is not the correct way. That's why I'm not even really going to do a full video, but I'm probably going to test that out now. And you can see the driver's seat is definitely, if I can see down in there, a lot less foam. So I need to actually move this seat further forward in order to access it fully. But the horsehair foam is nowhere near as thick on the driver's seat, and you have a lot more play in the seat. But I'm going to try to jam that up in there. I'm even going to keep what's already there with that horsehair filler and just jam this on top of it. So not going to do a video on that, but I will show you guys how it comes out, and I'll give you guys a fill in if it feels good. If not, and maybe down the road we will actually do the correct way. But for now, let's get going. I'm going to zoom through a lot of this, like I said, and I'll show you guys all these results at the end. Well, guys, before we go ahead and put everything back in the car and take a look at it, I wanted to talk about everything I did and some of the issues that I ran into. So first, let's talk about these mats that came out absolutely amazing, in my opinion, considering how bad the carpets were. And these had similar brown spots on them before I started cleaning them, and it did not look promising. None of that stuff was coming up when I was scrubbing them. But after they started to dry a little bit, as you guys see, the green started to come out on them. So I think these are a completely different material, obviously, and I think these carpets held up a lot better since they weren't directly on the floor. Even this one here, that was a little bit worse, still came out pretty good. You can see some brown in there, but it still has that green tint. So I think it's gonna look really good over the now brown carpet. So let's go ahead, take a look at some of the pieces that we dyed, as well as the seats. Now, I'm not gonna show you anything I really did with the seats except for the seats themselves, because I did it definitely improperly. So you'll see here, this is the driver's side. I said in the beginning that I wasn't gonna pull anything out, but I realized that the driver's side padding was completely shot and just disintegrating altogether. So I pulled it out. I went down to Joann's and very inexpensively picked up some padding, played around with it, and it got it to fit in there. It is very funky looking because it's jammed in there, but it is very comfortable and very sturdy. And this is going to keep those springs good for a long time now. So if somebody wants to pull this all out and add that horsehair back in there as a restructure, it's going to hold those springs up. And actually, it's very, very comfortable. I've sat on it a couple of times now, and I'm hoping once we clean them down, get them in the car, it's going to look a little bit better, because it does look funky if you look at the shape of them, and that's why I didn't really want to fill you in. Now, here's the carpets. They do have a slight green tint to them, depending on the angle you get. Now, outside the camera, they look very dark brown, but on the camera, for some reason, some areas look green still, especially on these pieces over here. When I get certain angles, you can kind of see a green hue to them. So I think it's going to look really good with those mats down and everything coming together, because it's going to be brown on brown with a light green tint to it. So I think it's going to look really, really good once we get everything back in there. Now, the passenger seat was in a much, much better condition, and you can see this seat looks really good. It was really only missing a part of the horsehair as I got up in there, and I was able to access it this way and just slide a thin layer of padding in there, and I think that's going to go really, really well. Now, the reason why I didn't want to go any more depth on this one is because just taking this seat apart here, everything is so brittle. The leather's kind of falling apart along the edges where you've got to kind of slide it up under. And I figured once I got it back together, I did not want to even try to do this one, because I broke a few pieces of plastic on this one just taking things apart, and I was not happy with the total outcome of putting this back together. Now, with that said, we're going to get everything back in the car. I've got a few pieces I want to put back in before we take a full look at it, and then I'll pull the car out and we'll take a really nice look at how everything came out. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the results. Now, this was not a super in-depth engine cleaning, just more of a, let's get all the grease and grime off, fix anything that we see that's broken, and replace anything that we can at that moment. So we went ahead and replaced our reservoir, which ironically happens to be leaking very lightly. So I got to take a look at that. We went ahead and cleaned down everything. I painted the air box there. And off camera, which is another video coming out, I had to replace the return lines on the diesel injectors here. So they were all very brittle and broken, as you guys can see over here. They were just falling apart and spraying out fuel. And I gotta admit, it is running so much better after replacing that vacuum line. I think it is underneath there going to the turbo, replacing our fuel return lines, and then just kind of cleaning up the engine bay. And I did find a couple vacuum lines that seem loose and a couple that I think need to be replaced. And on top of that, I've got to say, this bouting cable that goes down to the transmission, after doing some research, that will absolutely cause the transmission to improperly shift. So that may need to be replaced. I'm hoping we can get around that, because it's not the easiest job in the world. But if we have to, we will go ahead and fully replace that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the transformation of the interior. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior transformation. Now, I keep running out of daylight, so I wanted to get this in, but I did not get a chance to put back all of the pieces. Like, that's missing. I don't even know where I stuck that, but I know it's here. And I did not get a chance to put these pillars on and some of the other pieces that I found in the trunk. But I just wanted to show you guys how awesome so far this transformation is. Mainly from cleaning up, dyeing the carpets. Now, I kept that green. I didn't even realize it when I was doing the dyeing. And I might just keep it that way because I've got the piece that goes up underneath the steering wheel, and that is still the original color as well. So I may just keep that as kind of a two-tone offset. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But I love the way the brown carpet came out. And you can see I've got these trim pieces back on. Cleaned up our door panels. Cleaned up our center console, which by no means is perfect. Dyed that centerpiece, and just overall just cleaned the interior. And what a difference, guys. Now, like I said, this car is most likely going up for sale. Probably looking to get about $3,500 the way it is. But I've also debated on slamming it, putting some rims on here. Now, I do have some monoblocks. I have a couple other sets of rims that might look really cool on this car. Selling it that way, or possibly even keeping it, but I think it's going to be one that just has to go to a really good home, because this car needs to be driven, needs to be loved, and just needs to be taken care of for the rest of its life, because this thing's going to last forever. I mean, low mileage, one owner, Florida car with pretty much zero rust on it. And like I mentioned earlier, I went ahead and put some padding in this driver's seat because the horsehair padding was completely shot. Like, there was almost nothing left. When I went to pull it out, it was just falling apart. This kind of looks funky because it's all bubbly, but I sat down in it, and I gotta tell you, it is one of the most comfortable Mercedes seats I have ever sat in, and I'm kind of digging it. I mean, yeah, it looks weird, but oh my gosh, it is so soft. It feels like a love seat, guys. So much different than that horsehair feel. I don't know why they did that. I'm not a fan of it. It makes a crunchy noise. It's kind of hard. I'm a fan of that soft foam when you sit down in it. It just feels really good. Well, let me know in the comments what you guys think overall. And like I said, I've still got these pieces in the trunk that I need to get to, but I just keep running out of daylight and don't have a whole lot of time each day to work on this. And I wanted to get this video out there so you guys can see this transformation. Also, let me know if you're interested in buying this car. It runs absolutely amazing. At the least, it's going to get some new tires on here, and I'm going to continue to work on some of the small things that need to be fixed, like the front windows not going up and down. But like I said, we've pretty much gotten most of the engine out of the way. The car runs absolutely beautiful. Once again, how many miles does this thing have on it again? I'm going to take a look. 151,000 miles. For an original owner car, and it's a diesel, guys. This thing's gonna go forever, and it was maintained very well. I have some documentation on its service history. Once again, guys, you guys have an awesome day, a blessed week. I was so happy to share this with you. See you guys on the next video. Take care.